Session 3. Setting up a new user. In Session 1, identifying the version number, we had a brief look at the login screen. We logged onto the system using an existing user account, which we selected from a drop-down list of users. The username we selected was one of the example users that forms part of the sample data that comes with the demonstration copy of the Care Agency Manager software. In this session, we are going to add to that data by setting up a new user account, creating a password, and assigning a privilege level for the new user. Advanced users may wish to look at Session 4, Understanding Privilege Levels, before proceeding. In order to set up a new user on the system, we need to go into the Utilities section by clicking on the Utilities button to the right of the main menu, and from there to the Blue Cube Utilities menu by clicking the button at the bottom right of the Utilities screen. You will be prompted to enter the system password in order to access the submenu. The standard Utilities tab contains a number of different icons. We can click on the User Setup icon to set up a new user account. Once again, the system password must be entered before proceeding further. In Session 2, Understanding the Navigation Buttons, we saw how in the Care Attendants database, by clicking on the New button, we could create a new Care Attendant record and generate a unique Care Attendant code. We can do the same thing now to create a new user and user code. Unlike the Care Attendants database, where a unique code is generated automatically, here we must manually enter a unique code ourselves. This unique code will be the login name for this new user. We are going to create a new user account for Janice Smith. Janice may wish to log in using her first name, Janice, her initials, JS, or some other identifying name. Whichever she decides, this preferred login name must be entered here as the user code for this user. Let's decide that Janice will use her initials, JS, to log into the Care Agency Manager software. The initials JS must be entered as the user code. Now that we have entered a user code, which will be the login name for this user, we can enter the user's name in the username field. Now that we have entered the user code and username, we must enter a unique password for this user to enable them to log onto the software securely. Try not to be too inventive when thinking of a suitable password to use. The golden rule is to choose something that will be unique to the user but also easily remembered. Once we have decided on an appropriate password for this user, we can enter it in the password window. The next thing we need to assign is a privilege level for this user, which will define the parts of the Care Agency Manager software they will have access to. In the sample data we're using, we only have one privilege level created, called Full System Access. We can assign a privilege level by selecting it from a drop-down list. We'll be covering privilege levels in Session 4, but for now we have assigned privilege level 1 to this user, which gives them full access to the software. Beginners may also wish to skip Session 4 until they are more familiar with the software. We will notice that the system has automatically assigned the user number for this user. This user number is for internal use, for example report generation, and should generally be ignored. To complete the record, we will apply a few tick options. We will tick the first two options on the left of the screen, which will give this user access to their call logging reminders and to scheduling information from the diary screens. We will look at both scheduling and diaries in later sessions. Finally, we will tick the first option on the right of the screen, Domiciliary Nursing, which displays the default screen format. The options we have just ticked are suitable default settings for all users. The Only Allow Viewing of Own Reminders option is related to the call logging section, which is detailed in a later session. We can now save this record by clicking on the Save button at the bottom right of the screen and exit back to the Blue Cube Utilities screen by clicking the Exit button. To complete this session, we are going to log in using the new user account we have just created. In order to do this, we first need to exit from the software. From the Kerr Agency Manager main menu, we can click on the Exit button to log out of the software. We can now log in again using the new user account we created for Janice Smith. Double-clicking on the Kerr Agency Manager icon will relaunch the software and take us back to the login screen where we began this session. Notice that the login screen displays the user code that was last entered. To log in with our new user account, we can simply type in the user code we created for Janice Smith. Remember, we decided to use the initials JS as the user code for this user. Alternatively, we can select the user code we wish to log in with from the list of users that is displayed when we click on the L button to the right of the user code window. Double-clicking on the relevant name in the list will select the user code we wish to log in with. Once we have entered or selected the user code we wish to log in with, we must enter the appropriate password for this user in order to log into the software. We have now successfully logged in using our new user account. This concludes Session 3, Setting up a New User.